Editing video is actually a lot of fun. It's really one of my favorite parts of the process. It's where you really get to do some storytelling. But this is not a course all about editing. So what I want to offer is a few specific tips, especially if you're editing just for YouTube. First post-production tip is to plan your workflow and your process. And what I mean by that is every step along the way, every piece of software you're going to use, and every format that you're going to be working with. Nowadays, sometimes we shoot in one format, edit in another, and then make our final output in yet another format. And along the way, we might go through different pieces of software to do things like color correction and audio mix. So it's a good idea to plan this entire process. It will definitely save you headaches. Next, it's not a good idea to be overly fancy and use a tool just because you have a tool. Specifically, consider a clean video cut before you do something fancy like a transition, which would be a dissolve or even a wipe, like a page flip. But again, a cut often wins the day. So just because you have all those fancy tricks doesn't mean you always have to use them. Next, what's called montage or very fast editing may not be a good idea for YouTube simply because it won't hold up particularly well to video compression for the web. Now, if your video was already created for another purpose and it has fast cuts in it, you can put it on YouTube. I'm not saying you have to change it all up. But if you're editing specifically for YouTube, skipping a bunch of flashy fast cuts may be a good idea. Often we put titles or graphics over top of our video. Always make sure that these are readable, even on a small YouTube frame. That means making sure that the font is readable, that it shows up on top of the video, that the color is something that we can readily see, and then especially for YouTube, that the graphics aren't too small if someone's watching it in the small YouTube frame. While you're editing, make sure to pay attention to audio. If you have music in your video, make sure that you can hear the voice over the music. There's really nothing more distracting when you're watching a video than when you can't hear it right. Final editing tip is really if you're doing something in more of a series on YouTube, which is to use editing templates. If you've got something where you put out something every week and it's more or less the same, you can template that and have a lot of consistency, saving yourself time, money, and also creating something pleasant for your audience. They know what to expect. Sometimes with YouTube, you're actually planning a multi-part interactive video of sorts. Maybe there's an introduction that comes to a landing or a menu or a table of contents that then you can click a button to go on to the next menu. We see this more and more on YouTube, and the editing tip is just to plan ahead. Know what all those parts are, know that if something has to pause or stop for the user to make a choice, plan those things ahead in your editing. Final tip is that it's all about the content. Content is king. So no matter what tricks are in your toolbox, always remember to respect the content. That's what people tune in for. Editing is definitely the fun part as far as I'm concerned, but make sure to keep it simple and stay focused on content. That's even more true on YouTube videos specifically because a lot of that fancy stuff doesn't hold up too well in compression anyway.